Who? Who? Something I've been thinking about doing is redoing my old reviews that I did when I first started my channel and had to deal with the dreaded copyright. And now that I'm writing a script and found an editing style that works for me, I figured this is a perfect time to look back at my old videos and do them proper, to add more to them, and more importantly, not have to cut so much out because I didn't know about disputing claims. But this time I won't need to worry about that. With that being said, it's time to rediscuss the time that Hank went up against the sinister and fiendish, the Twiggy, aka Mr. Twiggy, Twig Boy, or just Anthony. But to us Hooties, he's Twiggy. As the evil Twiggy tries to take Bobby away from our propane protagonist. But when he's chased off, Bobby becomes a brat and pushes Hank's buttons. But we'll get to that when we get there. It's time to dust off the first review of my channel and the first episode of the series as we keep our eye on the ball, Bobby!
Can't hear you, Dad.
And let's discuss King of the Hill Season 1, Episode 1, Pilot. We see that classic establishing shot of the Ireland neighborhoods as we see people living their everyday lives as we follow a mosquito flying along the breeze as we're introduced to the boys and we witness the first victim of Hank Hill. I may warn you, what you about to see may haunt your very dreams, or not. Either way, Hootie viewers' discretion is required. Gone, but not forgotten. Okay, now that joke out of the way, we get the first look at the boys and how they talk. And yeah, the first season, they're getting the feel of the characters, so at the moment it's rather dry, but as you Hooties know, the series does get more interesting, and despite the boys more times than not hanging out the same spot for a lot of the series, it isn't as dry and awkward as it is for the first season. And well, for some of that has to do with the animation not being that great. But again, this is the first season and the pilot, so it's understandable for it to be rough. It's still an amazing starter for the series. We're also introduced to Bobby, and we also see that Bobby ain't right.
Hello.
Mother of God, it's all toilet sounds. Where did you record this?
I bought it at the mall. It's the funny phone jerks.
Oh my, not the dreaded potty sounds. Hank had better grab his pearls and go blah and tell Bobby how he ain't right, I tell you what. Or it's the funny phone jerks and that was just a prank phone call. Man, them were the days before the era of YouTube where you can watch these kinds of videos. The early days of YouTube before the dark age of cringe and brain rot and content farm garbage that buried actual content. But I'm not gonna rant about that. Then we'll really be here a while. Hank tells Bobby to flush them potty sounds and get ready for the baseball game, and is surprised by Luann.
Oh, God! Luann, I thought you went home.
Nah, Uncle Hank. Mom and Daddy are still fighting.
First, Hank has to deal with Bobby and his potty sounds, and now he gets jump scared by Luann in a towel. We also get some lore that Hoyt and Leanne are still together and not in prison, which will be changed later when Leanne is arrested. But then Hoyt was in prison for years? But that isn't important yet. let's move on to the hills as they head to the big game, and they talk about giving 110%. And it's a nice little slice of life scene where we see the dynamic of the hills. But the thing I want to talk about is, why is Hank driving the car and not his red truck? I mean, the truck has a back seat. Why would Hank drive Peggy's car? Oh, wait, yeah. Hank's truck is currently out of commission, hence the intro of them talking about what could be the problem with it. And later on, Hank is trying to fix the truck, but his lack of competent help doesn't make the situation Hank finds himself in at all any better. But that aside, we get to the game as Bobby just stands there and Hank tells him to swing at the dang ball.
You can't make an omelet without breaking eggs, and you can't get on base without taking a swing.
The pitcher could walk me, couldn't he?
Don't play lawyer ball, son.
We get our first look at how Bobby isn't exactly the most active person his age and would rather take the easy way out rather than do 110% or any percent at all, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, we see Bobby thrive in different things that he takes an interest in. They're all just things that Hank doesn't understand and doesn't want to understand. And Hank tries to force Bobby into a square Hank-shaped hole when he clearly is a round Bobby hole. You know, now there are things that Hank saves Bobby from, like the Coven of Artemis, or him being pelted by donuts and pastries when he wanted to be an plus-sized model for 8 Dumpties. And least we forget the disaster that could have been Tartuffe, the spry wonder dog.
Bobby, practice your flouncing. Flounce here. Flounce here.
Pip, 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 pip.
But unlike other situations where he pulls him from the activity entirely, Hank tells Bobby to do his old prop comic stuff when he can't stand it. He knows that that's what's funny, and his weird jester stuff isn't. And when his weird routine clearly doesn't work, he uses the classic whoopee cushion and gets them laughing. The point I'm trying to make here is sometimes Hank can make Bobby be like Hank when he should just be like Bobby. But there are times when Hank knows when to step in and gets him out of situations that won't end well. Anyways, back to the baseball game. Bobby gets lucky and runs for the first base and gets distracted by Peggy, and Hank tries to get his attention back to the game when Bobby catches the ball with his face. Yowzers! What a smack to the noggin! That didn't just hurt, that knocked him off the ground and knocked his hat off. And Bobby's a big boy, so you know whoever hit the ball must have been hitting some real heat. And before you go blaming Bobby for not keeping his eye on the ball, which yes, he should have been keeping his eye on what's going on with the game, Hank definitely had a hand in Bobby losing focus of the game. I really doubt Bobby was going to wave at Peggy the whole time. Or maybe he was. It's season 1 Bobby, I mean, he was at his weirdest at this time. Hank heads to Megalomart for a tap and die and some WD-40, and Hank has to deal with the idiots working there when all he wants to know is where the hardware department is, and all these idiots can do is...
What difference does it make?
Ah, Buckley. Rest in peace. But man, he was an idiot. The stereotypical 90s teen idiot with no ambition or thoughts aside from, hey, and guess what? Chicken butt. You know, Hank is losing his patience with each time Buckley just stands there and goes, and not just tell him where the hardware department is, which I highly doubt he knows where he is at that moment, let alone where the hardware department is, or for that matter, where a tap and die in WD-40 is. But Megalo is full of brain-dead morons like Buckley, and they are even giving positions of power like management, but that's a rant for when I talk about Propane Boom. Hank's angry outburst is noticed by a bunch of nosy women, And you know how one naggy saggy tells one rumor and it turns into a gossip telephone game until it reaches the Harlem County CPS, where Mr. Twiggy gets the culmination of all their lies and rumors and springs into action. Aw, what happened, Twiggy? Your wrist hurt when you take off your heavy clipboard because of your carpal tunnel? I want to add that I'm not mocking anyone that suffers from carpal tunnel unrelated to constant typing on a computer. I'm just mocking Twiggy here. And if you know Twiggy, then you're making fun of him too. When Dale goes on a rant about global warming, and Hank sounds like he's talking in a broom closet.
How is cutting down on pollution a government plot, Dale? So what?
And if anyone knows what that sounds like, it's this Hootie currently recording in a storage/broom closet made recording room. There are other times where it sounds like they forgot to isolate Hank's lines, but I thought I mentioned it here. All the while, Hank hears a thumping sound, which it turns out to be Bobby throwing his baseball at the wall and what looks like Hank's den, and is ignoring Peggy, even hitting her with the ball when she goes to turn the TV off.
Oh!
Oh, really, Bobby? You didn't mean to hit her with the ball? Well, maybe you should have. Oh, I don't know. Stop throwing the ball when she told you to, and go help Hank with the truck, which I'm sure you would have found a way to mess that up. I mean, that boy just ain't right. So, does Bobby stop throwing the ball against the wall? Of course not. And Peggy hears the doorbell and goes to see who it is, to which it's Twiggy. And of course she just lets him walk on in. I bet Bobby's black eye, and now Peggy's bump on her head, gee, thanks Bobby, isn't gonna make Twig Boy jump to any conclusions at all. Nah, none whatsoever. And on top of that, Dale has to be Dale and cause Hank to hit his arm and fall into the truck while he runs to safety in his house, sending him in a rage at the worst possible time, storming in, snatching a ball from Bobby and throwing it outside for who else but Twiggy to see.
Hi, we have a visitor.
Now, to be fair, Hank wasn't aware that Twiggy was there, or for that matter, that he was a social worker, but you'll find out quickly that Twiggy has already made assumptions about Hank from the moment he got that bogus call. And you can see it with the way he just writes on his clipboard of lies while making a sourpuss at Hank like he's so much better than him, when all Twiggy is some stuck-up Twiggy snob from Los Angeles, when all he had to do was write down no. Meanwhile, Dale thinks he's fixing Hank's truck, but he just snips his brake cables.
Dale?
Because Hank really needed you to add more to his list of things he has to deal with today. Peggy doesn't make the situation any better when she brings up his narrow. Well, you Hooties know by now. Hank gives a patriotic speech about how he works too hard for his family for his tax dollars to go to this Twiggy before kicking him out of his house as he scurries away to his neighbors, and thankfully they don't tell him anything because Hank never did anything. Yeah, that's right, Twiggy. You better just get on out of here with your nonsense, shah! But of course, he doesn't, and he resorts to skulking around like the Twiggy Weasel that he is, and overhears Bobby and Joseph talking about how mad Hank was, and both do a funny impression of Hank, which Twiggy thinks it's actually Hank, which you really have to be reaching if you think that was Hank. You can clearly tell that wasn't even close to how Hank sounds. You were in the same room as him. How can you not tell that that wasn't Hank? Unless Twiggy didn't care if it was Hank, or not just take any opportunity to try and go after Hank. Just more blind assumptions. And you know what happens when you assume something. You make one out of you and me. It's in the spelling. While Hank handles Luann's undergarments like they're radioactive, Luann runs in and letting us know that the infamous forking incident took place, and Hank does his best to comfort her the best way he can, and lets her know that she can stay until Leanne gets out when Twiggy returns and tries to take Bobby away, and Hank offers him Luann. Wow, Hank, you just told her that she could stay until Leanne gets out of prison, which we all know how long that's gonna last for. This was still when Hank was trying to get rid of Luann, and before she moves into her own place later on in the series, but that's not important right now. What is important is Hank telling off Twiggy for trying to take his only son away, and Hank chases him off in his prissy little Geo and gives him the legendary line.
You're out of control, Twiggy!
Yeah, you tell him, Hank. And man, that was a powerful smack you gave to that Twiggy's little Geo. Out of all the satisfying moments in the series, aside from Peggy getting what she deserves from her inflated ego post-skydiving incident, it's snotty, stuck-up people like Twiggy getting what they deserve. And since Peggy practically gets away with just about anything, even inadvertently kidnapping a little girl from Mexico and only getting out of the lengthy stay in Mexican jail, is because how little she actually knows about Espanol. Yo hablo español mucho mejor que Señora Peggy Hill. And I'm just now getting used to speaking full sentences in Spanish. That's how much better I am than Peggy. But let's get back to the review. One good thing before things get bad. We see how Twiggy didn't even do any investigation and just went to the hills and immediately assumed the worst, while probably stuffing the report with nothing but the gossip phone garbage that he heard from the naggy saggies that wasn't even at the game or know anything about Hank. So now that Mr. Twiggy is out of the picture, Hank now has to deal with another problem. Bobby. For you see, now that Bobby heard Mr. Twiggy say that he can't yell at Bobby, he decides to do what he wants. And by that, I mean stealing a stop sign and hammering a drill into it, and even regurgitates what the Twig Boy said to Hank's face.
Your hostility invalidates our parent-child contract.
You're quoting that Twig Boy at me?
I still hate how Bobby acts in this half of the episode. He went from that boy ain't right to that boy is just evil. Take him to the home. Maybe a more strict fam can take him in and make him wish he wasn't so bad to Hank. But of course, we know why he acts the way he does, which I don't think is a good reason to behave the way he does. Even after he finds out that he doesn't have to worry about being taken away, he tells them that it's a wrong number. Again, I can't stand the way Bobby treats Hank in this part of the episode. And he can go on and on about how Bobby being an absolute brat to Hank, it was him claiming that now he can be a prop comic or whatever and Hank can't do anything about it. And it's not just Bobby taking advantage of Hank and not wanting to lose him to CPS. Bobby has his moments of being better and worse, but this is a poor excuse of Bobby thinking Hank doesn't love him. And to be fair, Hank isn't the best at expressing his feelings for anyone that isn't propane. And to be fair, he does tell Bobby that he loves him in the most Hank way he can.
Okay, I love you no matter what you do there. Phew, let's go get something to eat.
Hank and Bobby pretend box as the Twiggy is sent back to LA, where he is never seen again. Until the season 2 episode Junkie Business, where Hank unknowingly hired a drug head and Twiggy returns to make things worse for Hank. But that's the end of the episode that started it all. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of the episode and the review in the comments. As always, my fellow Hooties, your opinion and feedback mean a lot, and I can't thank you Hooties enough for all of your support, new And old Hooties, if you're new to the channel, subscribe today and join the Parliament of Hoots. I hope you're having an awesome week, and until next time, I'll see you when you visit the Owlery again, and I give my hoot in the dark. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like, share with your fams, and hype if that's even a thing that's possible for my videos. I don't know what that's about. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe today and join the Parliament of Hoots. Don't forget to check out my other social medias like Twitter and Instagram and even Twitch, even though I'm hardly ever on there anymore, and my PlayStation Network account. Also, check out those videos down there. It'll take you to more of my content. And until then, I'll see you when you visit the Owlery again, and I give my hoot in the dark.